want to know if gym owners paid themselves more in 2023? We sure do. We're preparing our 2023 State of the Industry report for gym owners. And today on Run a Profitable Gym, Chris Cooper is going to tell you a few numbers that he's watching really closely from year to year. Even better, he's going to give you some tips on how to change those numbers at your gym right now. Before we go, I have a huge ask for me and Coop. Please go to the show notes, click the link to the survey. We need your numbers. Fill it out. It takes about 6 minutes. It's completely anonymous, but your data and your insight is going to help us present the clearest picture of our industry. So please click that link in the show notes. The result is going to be the State of the Industry Guide. It's coming out in mid-November. You're going to get it for free. So without further ado, Chris Cooper, welcome to Run a Profitable Gym.
Thanks, Mike. Always love chatting with you about this stuff and about numbers, and especially because these are all the numbers that I really wished that I had 15 years ago, 10 years ago when I was fixing my gym and just didn't have. So I'm glad that you and I and John and our partners can put this together.
It's a huge deal. And the first time we did it, it was so neat to have this thing in our hands. And now it's so cool that other industry groups and other companies are asking you for the data, and we're the only ones that have it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Big lobbies, even in the States, like URSA are asking to use it. Fitness Industry Canada, lobby groups, they come back to this data because it's objective, it's legit. We have an independent analyst go through it, and they're actually kind of shocked that we make it available for free to gym owners worldwide. Even though we have to invest in making it, it's just such a powerful tool. And my favorite thing in all of last year was the guys ripping it off, right? You saw the YouTube videos and they're reading it, but not showing the cover. It's amazing.
Just flipping the pages and I can see the pages that we created and they're not saying where it's from, but it's all good because, I know the idea of giving it away for free is to get the information in gym owners' hands, because if you and I had this, when we started gyms in the 2000s, we'd be in a different spot than we are right now. So this information can help gym owners. And guys, again, please, if you want this guide, fill out that survey, link in the show notes. We're going to get this guide to you and you can literally use it to just supercharge your business over the next year in 2024. So please fill that link out. So Chris, let's dig into some of these numbers.
Yeah.
We've got some areas of opportunity. We've got some really cool stats. I know you have 5 things you were kind of keeping your eye on among the many different numbers in there, but 5 things that kind of stood out that we're watching from year to year. So give me number 1. What are you thinking? What are you looking at?
Nutrition coaching.
Uh-huh.
So we've been talking about nutrition coaching since about 2016 on this podcast. One of our first guests ever was a nutrition coach who was starting a program down in South Florida. And the interesting thing is that while everybody knows that nutrition coaching is really important to your client's success, it doesn't appear to drive a lot of revenue. And so there's about 78% of gyms in our micro gym survey. And by survey, I'm actually talking about the whole data set. Well over 10,000 gyms last year, sometimes 16,000 gyms participate in this. Last year, 78%, or a high number, had a nutrition program. But what's interesting is that on average, only about 5% of their revenue is coming from nutrition coaching. And that's revenue. So when you take out the coach's pay out of that, the cost of certification, the cost of maybe additional insurance, it really doesn't leave much. And some gyms are paying, for special software for the nutrition program and stuff like that too, right? So to me, this is a signal okay, nutrition coaching is important, but let's invest our resources somewhere else in something else that's going to grow our gym faster and just give our clients what we can, which is a healthy habits checklist, right? And coach them on habits. Don't get any kind of legal trouble, but don't go way out of our way trying to get the PNL2 certification or anything like that, because we're limited in what we can actually prescribe anyway. The other option is if nutrition coaching is the cornerstone of your gym, that you just go all in and you try and double your revenue on nutrition coaching in the next year. But at 5% revenue, there's easier paths to grow your gym, it looks than nutrition coaching.
And that's super interesting. So you have a couple of different options for you listeners, but I'll tell you this, Clark Hibbs, Yellow Rose Fitness, he does 20% of his gross revenue that comes from his nutrition program. So if you have the interest in growing that program and the skill and the people, you can do it. Now, Clark, his wife does it in a spare bedroom in their house, 20% of their gross revenue. And they're just using simple habits-based nutrition coaching. It's not this super elite weigh and measure scales, macro tracking system with a custom app. It is just a very simple program. It's very effective and it does make money. But that doesn't mean you have to go that route if it's overwhelming to you and it's not going to, if there are other places that you can invest. So this is a really interesting stat, Chris. Do you think this number is going to go up in 2023? Do you think we're going to see more, like more than 5% of revenue, or do you think that's going to stay about the same?
It's tricky because, and again, like this is empirical now, this is not out of the data set, but talking to hundreds of gym owners in Two Brain, they're saying that the challenge is that people will sign up for nutrition coaching, but they'll stay there for maybe 2 to 3 months. And so you're almost better off to like run challenges. In a perfect world, everybody would have a nutrition coaching program because we know that's really at the base of the pyramid of fitness change. But the reality is, like, if you've got limited funds to invest on something that's going to grow your gym in the next year, nutrition coaching might not be your top priority. As much as I hate to say it, like, and I don't like selling access, but the reality, and this is why we do data instead of just what does Chris like, is that gyms selling 24-hour key card access are making a bigger percentage of their total revenue from doing that than they are from nutrition coaching. And there's less expenses going out. It's like you buy this thing once and usually that's it.
Okay. So something, if gym owners wanted to try today, maybe not a full blown nutrition program, but a challenge 2 to 3 times a year. Is that something you'd recommend?
Yeah, 100%. So like 3, 4 times a year, even if you run a challenge, you'll probably make as much gross revenue as you would just by selling like an ongoing nutrition coaching program. Your costs will be less. And it looks like your clients are more likely to get excited about it and sign up for it. And maybe that's how you start building a habit with them.
Okay. So there's something you can do today is just do a simple nutrition challenge that might work for you and you don't have to go all in. Now, Chris, gyms with kids and youth classes. Is this a similar situation? What's the stat here and what are you watching this year?
So this is kind of the inverse. So while the gyms who run kids and youth programs do generate a good proportion of their revenue from that, like, between 8 and 11%, only 39% of gyms actually offer that. And what's crazy to think about is that outside like the micro gym, CrossFit, HIIT, boot camp industry, if you segregate out like the after school industry, right? The programs, the gyms that are set up just for kids, they make way more money than we do in general. And it's not like, they're more mature entrepreneurs or anything like that. There are cheer gyms doing $1 million a year. And the reason is that they understand the value of activities for kids. Most of us parents would pay 3 or 4 times as much to have our kid in an activity than we would for ourselves. And so that's why these numbers start to make sense, right? So like, this is why parkour gyms are doing really well still. Ninja gyms are doing really well. Gymnastics and dance studios, they all charge more than your typical HIIT gym does. And it's because you're selling to kids. And what's really interesting here too is like, if you look at even like jujitsu, right? It's not just that the kids are signing up and paying a monthly rate to go to do this class. And it's not just that like the parents are willing to do anything to wear the kids out. It's that the parents also want to find something their kids love. And the parents want mementos. And the parents want to go to like the belt ceremony or the dance recital or like the ninja competition, right? And then the parents want photography of those things. Anybody that's listening to this, even if you own a gym, like you already know that if your kid loves playing basketball and the price of basketball is like $300 a month, you're going to find a way to pay for that. And so the interesting thing is that like 39% of gyms offer kids classes, and it does create, up to 11% of their gross revenue, but that number should actually be a lot more. I think there's a massive opportunity there, just to like, change your pricing model and maybe value the price at what it should be. And so we've got this from a big data set, but also empirically, like Jeff and Mickey Martin from Brand X tell me the exact same thing. Most people undercharge their kids program. I certainly did. I charged half what I was charging for adults. I don't know if I was like pricing my program by weight or what, but there's a massive opportunity here for gyms.
So if a gym has a program right now and they're listening to this, what's something they can do today?
Raise the price by 15%. So, most gyms are not running like a membership-based youth program is what the numbers say anyway. They're running it on like 6-week blocks. All you got to do for your next 6-week blocks is say, here's the price for the next 6 weeks and raise that by 15%. I don't think you're going to see a parent bat an eye. And that's immediately going to improve like the revenue that you're getting from a service that you're already offering without increasing your expenses.
Mm.
If you're not running a kids program, look for an amazing coach and then look for age group opportunities. Like, don't think you've got to roll out 3 different age groups, 3 nights a week. Like, you just look at your best clients and say, how old are their kids? You know, how many clients have a kid in this age bracket or that age bracket? And then start with a 6-week group for one age bracket with an amazing coach. And that'll tell you whether you've got a viable future with kids programs. I love doing kids programs. I think it's like part of our mission to give kids a way to find their fitness, something that they can stick with for the rest of their life. And even if they're only with me for a year, I mean, teaching a kid how to squat properly, pick up something heavy, that it's safe to roll around on the floor and climb a rope, you're giving them a gift that's going to last them 80 years. You know, like, it's amazing the impact you can have at this age, but it's also the amazing that this age can have, the impact that this age can have on your business.
And raising the price by 15% isn't gouging parents. It's just recognizing that you underpriced your service. You know, I did the same thing where, my membership was $150, which was too low. Then I'm like, oh, kids classes should be $100, which was also too low. It should have been at least 150 and probably well more than that. But I had no idea what I was doing when I started these programs. So guys, it's not about gouging parents. Know that parents have money set aside for kids' activities and they expect to pay for them. And, Chris used the example, like signing your kid up for hockey can cost up to $7,000. So a $300 kids program, not that much on the radar, right? Like, you can definitely, the value that you have there, represent that in the price and make sure that your kids have a great program with a great coach who's making a great living. Now, Chris, our next stat is along those lines. So talk to me about highest earning staff members. And this is a really interesting number we got to go over.
Yeah, so we separate out the owner from the staff member in the data set. So this is like the highest paid person who is not the owner in the
Not
gym.
the owner.
And the average here, the median average, is $28,709. Now, that's not high enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not thrilled about that stat, but it's actually higher than the industry average. And so what this tells me is that micro gyms are paying better than the big chain gyms are. So if you look on any like employment website, Glassdoor, whatever, you're going to find like, the median average income for a trainer is maybe about 23,000. So micro gyms are actually paying above that line, right? But the one reason that the staff aren't making more, because none of us are happy with that number. We want to create careers for our coaches. The main reason that the staff isn't making more is that the owner isn't making enough. Like, we're going to talk about what owners make in a moment. Yeah. Owners are barely making more than that, right? So the gyms have to become more profitable first, and then the staff will earn more. It's not about like taking the pie that's available and cutting the staff out a bigger piece. Like, that's not sustainable. It's about growing the entire pie for everybody. Okay. Another reason is that the owner just has too many staff, and there's always a balancing act between like full-time, part-time staff. I do think you want to have both, right? However, as you progress with your gym and your gym becomes more successful and your profit increases, you want to start to transition some people into full-time staff. I don't have any full-time coaches right now. I wish I did, because that covers some gaps. But the reality is, like, there's a time and a place for it. Statistically, though, if you've got a lot of part-timers, then the highest paid person at your gym is just going to decrease because they're not there full-time.
And we have a tool for tutoring clients, the career roadmap, that allows you to sit down and actually piece together with that coach exactly how they can make what they need to make by putting jobs together. So sometimes in some situations, you've laid out some things where you've got all these different jobs, and they could be coaching, admin, specialty programs, whatever it is. You can actually put them together, and maybe that eliminates some part-time stuff, but it does create a full-time career, right? Like, you can do these things. And on the other side of it, there are sometimes, like for me, it was super passionate, super talented firefighters who want to do some coaching on their days off. And those people were really valuable to me. So this number, do you think this is going to go up this year?
I hope so, because what we're seeing, if you look at kind of like the bell curve of Two Brain gyms, and Two Brain is big enough, by the way, to like influence these stats. So if we're getting statistics and data from 11, 12,000 gyms worldwide, thanks to our partners, there's 900 gyms in Two Brain. And so as the Two Brain gyms grow and actually make more profit, they're actually pulling the curve up with them. So one thing that I'd love to see is every gym across the board increase their rates by 10%. If all you did was that this year, that would increase what you take home by 10%. It would increase what your staff takes home by that same 10%. And so that alone would bump this number of $28,709 up over 30 grand for the first time in the history of the industry. That to me is kind of the threshold where now we're a serious career and nobody's just getting into personal training and fitness for 2 or 3 years while they're going to college for their real job.
So guys, if you want to change this number at your gym, something you can look at doing today is a rate increase, but know that there is an exact plan and a step-by-step process to doing this that's been proven to work and retain clients. Two Brain has it, and we just give it to our clients. So don't just do it. Talk to us first because we can help you do that. Now, Chris, related to staff are great, but you have to care for yourself first as the owner. Talk to me about what owners are taking home and what we think is going to happen this year.
Yeah, so last year, gym owners took home on average $3,787 in net owner benefit every month. So net owner benefit is like your wage from the gym plus your profit distributions plus, if your gym is paying for your cell phone or whatever. I break it all down in the State of the Industry Guide. So 3787 is okay. It's technically higher than the industry average, but it's not survivable. Like you can't make that little money and expect to have a gym that lasts you 10, 20, 30 years. Anything under 48,000 is too low. And especially, considering that a lot of this data comes from urban areas where you really need 100,000 a year to survive, it's not enough. So what that means is like, okay, I'm making 3787 a month. That's contributing to my family's income, but that can't be my primary family's income. So either I have to have another job or my spouse does. And any little challenge, right? Like could kill the gym. Yeah. So, the price of groceries just went up 30%. Price of gas goes up 30%. Now I'm asking myself these questions driving home of like, can I actually afford to own this gym anymore? And should I go get that job at the call center or that real estate job working with my uncle? And unfortunately, that's usually what kills the gym. It's not that the gym can't get any clients. That's usually survivable. And it's not that the gym is like signed into this massive lease. Often you can get out of that. What kills the gym is when the gym owner is not making enough money and they basically have to take a job somewhere else, and that kills the gym. So what I'd love to see is this number of net owner benefit rise to at least $40,000 or $4,000 per month. Just make some incremental gains. What that's going to do is it's going to attract more people to the fitness industry. And that's actually going to help all of us, because as we all get better at being the CEO and the entrepreneur, we all grow and the pie grows and we attract more people to exercise for the first time. So, these are all like a balancing act, right? It's a paradox. Like the gym owner makes more, the gym does better. The gym does better, the gym owner makes more. But the reality is, like, if I can keep a gym owner in the game for another 5 years, they're going to serve more people, save more lives, make more money, create more careers. And so, we do focus on improving net owner benefit a lot.
And I'll tell you this, the results of that are in our last year's stats. The average Two Brain gym owner makes more than $1,000 per month more than that 3787. Yeah. So that's stats for Two Brain clients make $1,000 more per month just by being Two Brain clients and following what we're giving out. That's super interesting. And then you gave me another stat the other day about how long it can take someone to start with Two Brain and get to $100,000 in annual income, which is way more than $4,000 a month. So how long does it take the average client to do that now?
Average client is 2 years, 1 month, 9 days. So, and it's really interesting because when people start with Two Brain, there's a very broad spectrum. Some people are doing pretty well when they start. The majority of people are not doing that well. And some people are like at their wit's end, like I was, right? Like, here's my last $500 check and it's probably going to bounce. I don't recommend starting with a mentor. Like when you're going to bounce the first payment, like we're going to give you enough free stuff that you can use that to build up a little bit. But the reality is, like, we know how to get owners to $100,000 a year net owner benefit better than anybody else. We've done it hundreds of times. And what we're studying now is how to do it faster. And we call this virtuosity, which is basically like, if I can get people there in an average of 2 years, 1 month, 9 days, how do I do that in less than 2 years? How do I do it in 16 months? And so that's really like the focus of our internal study right now.
So that net owner benefit number, the gym owner wage, is changing for our clients, and we're watching them as they move through the program add money month by month to their wages, what they take home to their families. It's super cool to watch. If you're interested in just seeing what stuff is all about, head to Gym Owners United, jump into that group. We give away tons and tons of free stuff. Chris has seminars in there, all sorts of great resources, including guides that tell you literally how to get to $100,000 per year in income. You can get those guides in that group. And of course, if you want even more help and more speed, work with us and we'll help you do that. Now, Chris, going on, this is a really interesting one for me, the median price for group training. And the reason why this is super interesting for me is it's almost exactly what I charged at my gym, which was too low. Let's go over this one.
Yeah, so we took a median count here because if you have a data set that has a lot of gyms, like in New York City, for example, their average is going to pull everybody up and give you a misleading figure. So $160 is the median price for group training. That's your unlimited option, right? So if you're a CrossFit gym or a boot camp or a HIIT gym or whatever, that's what the average gym is charging for their unlimited class option. Okay. That's too low. You need to get to an average revenue per member of about 205. Now you can do that a few ways. You can raise the rates. You can add personal training or add another service like we talked about. Nutrition coaching is one option. Kids is maybe a better, even access is on the table to bring that ARM up above 205. If you can get your ARM to 205, you can make $100,000 a year with 150 clients. And if you're in a big urban setting like Atlanta, New York City, San Francisco, you should be charging way more than that anyway, because the cost of living is higher and your price should go up proportionally with that. Unfortunately, the opposite kind of happens. Years ago, somebody in Atlanta told me you can't charge more than $79 a month for CrossFit, right? And that's how they were thinking. And of course, people like Miles Davis, Rick Thompson, Andy McCann, they charged $200 a month for CrossFit and made it worth it. And that's how they brought their ARM up. So this median rate for group training it's too low. There's another perspective here too, which is that if a client comes into your gym and they want general group programming, the same programming that everybody else is getting, the same workout, the same level of coaching, which is, corrective, right? I wouldn't call it an industrial model, but it's not like you're getting your own personalized program, your own personalized appointment time, your own one-on-one attention from a coach when you're in a group setting. When you frame it that way, group setting actually becomes your lowest priced option. And so the way that a lot of gyms approach this now is a client comes in and they'll say, what's your goal? And then they'll measure the client. And then they'll say, okay, well, based on your goals, if you want to get to your goals fastest, I recommend one-on-one training with us, and they'll call that their high ticket option or whatever. And then if the client says well, I can't really afford it, then the next best option for that client is semi-private. And if the client is I can't really afford that, no problem. You're still going to get there with our group training. It might take a little bit longer, but some people actually like group training because it's a lot of fun. How's that sound? And Mike, I did my first NSI in 5 years yesterday. And she's sounds great. Sign me up for group training. And it was a higher price point than I've sold in the last 20 years. But she was eager to sign up for it because it's what she could afford. It will get her to her goals, but it's not as personalized, not as flexible on, scheduling time. And it might not get her to her goals fast enough as fast as one-on-one coaching and nutrition coaching would. That's all.
But still, an unlimited group membership, which is what I had for $157.50 or whatever it was. And I think that included taxes. So I took home less than that. I think if I broke it down by the average number of classes attended per member, I think I was making $6 to $50 a class or something like that. And we can all agree that that's not that great, because your group classes, well, they are your discount option. They're not worth $75 or $80 for personal training, but they are worth more than $6. And I didn't realize that. And I didn't understand this until you had me do the math, divide that up, figure it out. And whoa, I am delivering way more value than $6. And I think a lot of gyms are doing the same thing.
Yeah, especially when you look at some other stats from here, which is average group size. And when you multiply that, the average membership price times the average number of people in a typical group, most gyms are running way too many groups for what they're charging. And sometimes they're underwater. they're paying the coach $25. They got 2 to 3 people showing up for the 6 a.m. class. Those people on average are paying $6 per class. Like, you're losing $7
Losing
by
money.
opening the gym that early and forcing that coach to get out of bed, right? So it doesn't, it doesn't make sense. And a lot of gyms are chasing this losing model, unfortunately. And now they're realizing more and more, like, oh my goodness, time is not on my side. Like, the longer I follow this model, the worse things are going to get. And so that's where they come to Two Brain for mentorship and turning the ship around.
Gym owners, that's a prime example of why you need this guide. You can take a look at our stats and you'll find out, okay, when are the most popular class times? What is the average attendance in classes? Should I run giant classes with 20 people? Answer is no. Should you focus on smaller groups? Yeah, because retention's better. All this stuff is in there. And then you can use that and say, if I'm only getting 2 people to my morning class and no one's showing up and I'm only charging, an average of $6 a head, I'm losing money and I'm paying my coach $25. That's the average also in the guide. All these stats are in this guide. You can literally use them to compare your numbers to and say, do I need to change something? How can I get to this great number? What do I need to do? You can make smart business decisions. None of this was available when Chris and I started our gyms. We had just, it was basically Chris and me talking in the bleachers at fitness events and saying, what are you doing? And trying to, figure it out. Literally what happened. Now you can get this guide for free. All the info's in it. You can use it to make great decisions in your gym. And then in the Gym Owners United group, you could talk to 7,700 other gym owners, including Two Brain mentors, and get some real help to grow your business. And then on the other end of that is mentorship working with Two Brain. But take the first step. Go to the link in the show notes. Please fill out that survey. 6 minutes, 7 minutes, maybe at the max. Chris has got the guide there. You're going to get that guide for free in mid-November, and it's going to help you grow your business. So please, with our compliments or with our thanks, please go and fill out that survey for us. It would really help us. Chris, how fired up are you to see the numbers that come in from that survey?
So fired up, man. And I used to get really excited about seeing you twice a year at regionals and the games and stuff, even though we were like working, because the great thing about conversations with you is I knew you were telling the truth. And like neither of us had anything to gain by inflating our number. Well, shit, Mike, I'm at 400 members, right? Like, neither of us had anything to gain from
I have
that.
109.
But even back then, like, you and I would go to seminars or we'd meet other gym owners where they would inflate that stuff. And like, the CrossFit message board, for example, people are like, we're doing great. And meanwhile, they've got 3 part-time jobs and like they can't pay the rent anyway. And you see that online. They actually think they are doing great and they're not doing that great. It's kind of impossible to filter out like what's actually great. What does great even mean? And now, I mean, you can do that on your toilet. You don't have to find Mike and Chris and somebody that you trust to be honest and transparent with you. I mean, honestly, like if you got this guide and you put it on the back of your toilet, you got 5 minutes every day to make your gym better. And so what you do is you look at, oh, okay, geez, the cost of gym space average is this. Okay, well, I'm overpaying for gym space. Maybe that's something I should think about. Or you flip to here and it's like, okay, well, the average revenue is $15,900 a month. The average Two Brain revenue is $21,309 a month. Group training price is $160. Like, hey, what would happen if I went up $5 for the 100 members at my gym? Well, that's another $500 to drop straight to my bottom line. I mean, you've just had like the best poop of your life. You've made $500 on the toilet, right? It's great.
I remember vividly those conversations where you're talking to another gym owner and it was almost like you're trying to like figure out, okay, how can I ask this? And you kind of, build up some rapport and you're like, so are you making any money at your gym? And you're asking for those delicate financial numbers. And sometimes you would get honest people who would tell you and you'd be like, oh, okay. And you put your whole life in perspective and then you can get some ideas and you can make some changes. Again, those conversations were super awkward. They were hard to get because you had to find people. This guide gives you all of that stuff. So please fill out the link or hit the link in the show notes, fill out that survey. We will send you this guide and it will help you improve your business. Coop, thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, man. So happy to do this. Years ago, I was sitting at a kitchen table with Greg Glassman, who founded CrossFit. And I asked him the question point blank, like, why should I continue to pay the affiliation fee? And he said, if I were doing CrossFit at my gym, I would feel it's my duty to pay the founder. And I said, good enough. Sounds, I'm in. Good. I think honestly, like all of us gym owners, we've been too separate for too long. We're a bunch of islands out there. I think we owe it to ourselves and to one another to participate in global movements like this. GymOwnersUnited.com is a great example. You know, you go to GymOwnersUnited.com, you join a free Facebook group. There's like 7,600 gym owners in there. Transparency, support. Nobody is making fun of other people. There's no like Michael Jackson eating the popcorn memes because there's no battles. It's just people helping people. And this is the kind of movement that we need to create if we want to elevate the entire industry. The second thing the industry actually needs is data. And I think it's really all of us are responsible to share what's actually happening. Now, I don't need you to go out and be like, oh, we lost 50 members last year. It's anonymous, but we still need your input because we have to know where we're starting from and we have to see what the greatest opportunities are. You know, you can count on Two Brain to publish 95% of the stuff that you and I build is free. We're going to publish stuff to help you as long as we know where people actually need help. And for way too long, like we hear from these organizations, right? Like our franchisor, this gym has 800 members, or from CrossFit, this gym must be successful, they have 400 members. We hear that, but the reality is like that's not helpful information, and it can even be misleading. And so I think it's up to gym owners, especially independents, to come together outside of our parent companies and say, like, what is actually working here, right? We need people who have like no bias, no dog in that fight to say, like, here's what the actual data says. And data doesn't lie, it's proof. We do this in a way to be as objective as possible. You know, while I did give you some personal opinions on this stuff, the reality is like we hire an independent analyst so that my biases can't even enter into that. And then we produce it free because I think this is how we improve the entire movement.
Get the guide. Click the link in the show notes with our thanks. We appreciate it. This has been Run a Profitable Gym, and that was Chris Cooper. See you next time.